this is an interesting one, and it's really worth understanding what happened here. Researchers fool university markers with AI-generated exam papers. And what happened here is that researchers at the University of Reading fooled their own professors by secretly submitting AI-generated exam papers that went undetected and got better grades than the real students. What I want to do is quickly just take you through this, show you what they did and why this is really important to pay attention to. We report a rigorous blind study in which we injected 100% AI written submissions into the examination system in 5 undergraduate models across all years of study for a BSc degree in psychology at a reputable UK university. We found that 94% of our AI submissions were undetected. And the grades awarded to our AI submissions were on average half a grade higher than that achieved by real students. Across modules, there was an 83.4% chance that the AI submissions on a module would outperform a random selection of the same number of real student submissions. So not only did they not spot these submissions, I'm talking about the markers now, they did not spot these submissions, but the submissions were also of a slightly higher quality than what the average student was able to produce. So let me show you what they did. The proportion of AI written answers was approximately 5% of the total for each module. All right, so it wasn't the majority, it was a very small minority of the total answers submitted, which made it possible for these answers to sort of disappear in amongst everything else. And this percentage was decided upon as it was a feasible number of submissions for the 2 authors. So there was obviously a practical limitation here to submit live in each exam window. And 2, the marking load for this number of submissions could be offset. We were also wary of submitting large numbers of AI answers which were self-similar due to not being modified. Now, although in the original article and also in the abstract they indicate that it's unmodified, it's not strictly true. They did do some very sensible work to clean it up and to not just copy it from Chat-GPT and paste it as an answer. And let me explain what they did. We used a standardized prompt to GPT-4 to produce answers for each type of exam. For SAQ exams, the prompt was including references to academic literature, but not a separate reference section. Answer the following question in 160 words, and then the XXX marks the question that they then repeated there. Now, interestingly enough, this isn't a 5-page prompt. It's a really simple 2-sentence prompt with the right context and the right instruction to get a useful output. And then for essay-based answers, the prompt was including references to academic literature, but not a separate reference section. Write a 2,000-word essay answering the following question. Now, additionally, unlike SAQs, which had to be copy-pasted on an online submission form, essays had to be submitted as a separate document. So what they did here then is they applied minimal formatting by changing the typeset of section titles and then simply using Microsoft Word's built-in styles in a different way for each submission. So visually creating some differentiation between the submissions. But other than this, answers produced by GPT-4 were submitted unmodified, given limited means to mimic student editing. Now, how were these exams graded? So examinations were graded using the university's standard stepped numerical scale. Submissions were graded by a first marker who read the work and assigned a grade according to how well the student had met the objectives of that assessment in line with the marking rubric. Grades were then moderated by an independent moderator who considered the overall level of attainment across submissions, read a randomly selected proportion of the submissions, and reviewed submissions that had attained a failing grade or had been flagged by the first marker. The role of the moderator was not to double mark the submission, but rather to review the quality, consistency, and appropriateness of the marking. Now, important here, the markers were not told that there was a test being conducted or that there were specific AI answers as part of the responses they received. Now, the results. Now, for the purpose of this study, to be classed as detected, AI submissions needed only to be flagged for some form of poor academic practice or academic misconduct via the standard university procedures. The marker did not need to mention AI when they flagged the script as of concern. If they found something that was incongruent with the general misconduct policies and they flagged it, it would have meant they detected AI from the perspective of the study authors. They did not have to specifically indicate that they consider this response as AI generated. Overall, AI submissions verged on being undetectable, with 94% not being detected. If we adopt a stricter criterion for detection with a need to flag to mention AI specifically, 97% of them went through. Now, how well did they do? Well, the grade frequency histograms for each of these modules where AI was submitted are shown here below. Orange distributions are for real students and the blue are the fake AI students. You can actually see that the blue AI submissions are on average towards the higher end of the spectrum. Now remember, it's only 5% of the submissions, and that's why you see the blue portion here as very small. It's more important to understand where they are located, and they are definitely located towards the higher end of the spectrum. Not the top, but definitely in the higher percentiles. So let me move down to the discussion quickly, and the very first sentence here just summarizes the challenge perfectly. From a perspective of academic integrity, 100% AI written exam submissions being virtually undetectable is extremely concerning, especially so as we left the content of the AI-generated answers unmodified and simply used the regenerate button to produce multiple AI answers to the same question. A far more plausible strategy for academic misconduct would involve students modifying the AI output to make it less detectable by, for instance, iteratively honing a series of prompts to construct an answer in collaboration with the AI. It's important that you understand this. These researchers used a one-shot approach. They took the first thing they got. They didn't iterate it, they didn't improve upon it, they didn't make it sound better or more complete. It was the very first response they received. They copied, they formatted the content slightly, and they gave it in as the answer. What do you do about this? I don't know. I don't have the answer at this stage, and I'm sure that the big brains in the educational environment are seriously trying to understand what do we do with this and how do we cope with this, because it is quite inevitable as LLMs and chatbots improve and as users start getting better at utilizing AI, that this problem will become more pervasive. Perhaps the answer here is not to try and solve AI within the current education system, but rather to adapt the education system for a world where AI and these active assistants is incorporated into the student learning process. Food for thought. I'll invite you to get more information on our training course called AI and Me, Becoming a Super User, where we specifically help individuals and business teams understand how to use these tools to help them in their day-to-day work and to get the best sustainable results. Cheers!